Good afternoon. This is Team 5. This is going to be our final presentation over microgrid energy systems. I'm Matthew Benavides, and my teammates are Joshua Dreisbach, Colin Ferreira, and Cordell Koffel. A little bit about a project overview. The Terravolt Energy Company, located in New Braunfels, Texas, is responsible for solar and energy storage development and an electricity brokerage operation. They specialize in transportable energy systems for off-grid or remote living conditions for residential and as well as commercial uses. Reliability of solar microgrids in emerging markets. You are able to bypass traditional power transmission lines. Also, possible reduction of power outages due to whatever energy provider you're using. And then since this will be your own system, you're ultimately responsible for your reliability and the efficiency of the system, given what components you put on it. Standards and regulations. Jobs that help improve the environment are called green jobs by OSHA. Many new hazards arise when you are dealing with lithium ion batteries, electrical equipment, and solar energy. Staying safe on the job site is the number one thing, along with knowing all the signs of danger that is in your working area. Behind all those solar panels are lithium ion batteries. That's what stores the energy required to power the off grid environment. So, all the energy that's stored from the solar panels is put into these batteries here for use whenever needed. Arc flashes, electrical shock, and thermal burn are just some of the hazards of this system. With all the wires and the batteries, there's definitely going to be some workplace hazards, and that just comes into the safety and the training of the employees and the people working around the system. Lithium ion batteries are what is used to power this system. Although they are efficient, they pose a great danger in shipping, packaging, and handling. When being shipped, the container must correctly identify that there is lithium ion batteries inside. And an example of that container container label is shown to the right. Some similar solutions that we found is a company called PowerHive. They custom build microgrid systems. Although not as storage containers, sometimes small buildings or little shacks. They tend to work closely with their government. Another company is Elam Energy. They're a monitoring company. They have a report on some of the best uses for a microgrid system, and we'll get into some of those a little bit later in the presentation. Project uniqueness. Since the whole system is a shipping container, you could easily buy or have two, three, five of these shipping containers and plug them all together, just depending on how much electricity or energy you need or want to have on deck. So that's kind of a Lego-like design for the system. Easy transportation is another selling point. Reusable, repurposable, and open to many industries. Some of the customers that we're targeting is going to be the military, construction companies, as well as oil and gas, and also local and state governments. For the military, we targeting them because they're always in remote areas. It seems like there's not really a fuel need for this system. It's a compact energy source, and they also possess all the heavy machinery needed to move and to set up these systems. For construction, we put the ability to be easily moved. They have all the heavy machinery on deck for the job sites. Again, no fuel needed, not like their diesel generators and such. And also, if it's a building off the grid and there's not reliable energy around, since this is going to be the first building in the remote location, this could be a stable energy source for them to complete the project. Local and state governments, they can use this product for rolling blackouts during hot temperatures, also for immediate use after natural disasters such as a hurricane, tornado. FEMA can also use this for shelters and hospitals when the power goes down to keep all vaccines and all medical supplies at optimal temperature and power. I'm going to go ahead and hand it off to Colin to talk about the flow analysis.
So for the flow analysis, this is really important. This is how we're going to identify the obvious, non-obvious materials that are actually flowing through our entire system. Some you might think of, some you might not. We have people, electricity, light, vehicles. And this actually allows us to list what is important and what can affect the performance of the system. So the top three that we have chosen are electricity, people, and transportation. For electricity, this is going to be the driving force behind the system. This is collected, stored, and distributed to the necessary output. As you can see in these pictures, solar panels, next step moves to the batteries where it's stored, and then the actual output, that looks like an arena, outside arena to me, so that's the whole process right there. And this system is self-sustaining, so it can be run solely off of itself pretty much, and there's no need for an outside power source. For people, the salesmen are the most important because this is what you're going to push to get into the market. This is how you're selling your product. You need salespeople. Truck drivers to deliver the system, service technicians install and dismantle the service the system routinely. For transportation, this would not be a transportable power system without the proper transportation. Delivering to and from jobs quickly and safely, you're going to need a side lift truck, a flatbed that can just easily roll off, and you're there. No need for, you can use a forklift for it, but these side lift trucks or flatbeds are much easier. Service trucks like an F-250 for technicians working in the field, just another transportation vehicle. So we're going to get into marketing and some of our potential solutions. Marketing through conventions and trade shows is really what's going to set us apart from other companies. This is going to give us an up-close view of the system and actually how it works. So you're not just looking at a pamphlet on a piece of paper. You're actually there looking at the system, all the components, to what goes on in it. The other option, or the other way we're going to market this, is through LinkedIn and an email system. This allows us to reach our customers that are further away, that aren't maybe in Texas, or that we want to reach out to, say, hey, maybe you need this, and we got the proper system for you. And this will allow them to keep up with new news or what's coming. So making sales calls is going to be the most important. We need to build a reputation that we can stand behind. Trying to find that connection into a sale and why that system will be best for the customer is what you're going to aim for. So you need to, if they have different situation, they're off grid, they're in a different industry, you got to find that connection to why they need it, and you got to connect with that. The three industries that we're going to talk about are construction, oil field, and the government. So in the construction, there's about 700,000 companies in the US that are currently doing construction. They already have the equipment to move the containers that are already in use. Oil field, or the global reach, it's everywhere. I mean, this is never going to stop. Always need for oil. There's always going to be a need for off-grid power. And a lot of the offshore rigs already use solar panels. Government, natural disaster relief. I mean, being from Houston, Texas, our town was one of the towns that flooded. So this could have been an amazing system in our town to help out with a lot of the grocery stores, checkpoints for like FEMA or whatever like that. So we're going to get into a little bit more detail on these three. For the oil field industry, you're going to be off-grid and remote working conditions. This is $1 billion industry. They're going to want to have this set up and not have to worry about it later. They don't want to have to think about it, just set it up and let it run, do its job. The construction industry, they have an expected growth of from to $3.9 billion in 2021 compared to 2020 of 3.8. It may not seem like that much money, but when you're dealing in billions of dollars, that's a lot of money. So that's where we want to capitalize and get in on that. Look, they're always looking for new ways of power. I mean, they're using diesel generators, they're using all sorts of stuff that just eats away at their pockets. This can easily be moved to the next job site or across the job site. This is, I mean, it's construction. Everything's changing around there, so they need to move stuff around, and this can easily be moved. The state and local governments, they're in need of a system like this for emergencies because they are there to provide help for us when natural disasters happen and they need something to provide them with power. We're going to really have to make our name stand out when competing with other companies that are like us. So I think this is one of our potential biggest clients, state and local governments. So right here, we have our decision matrix. We have our 3 industries. We have the audience. This is going to be on a scale of, all these are going to be on a scale of 1 to 10. Audience is the potential number of people in that industry. Potential sales is the likeliness of hitting that sale. And the industry need is who's actually going to need that in the industry. So for the totals construction, we came up with that we're going to market this to the most, or we're going to market to the construction industry the most. Next, we're going to do the oil field and then the military. And next, I'm going to hand it off to Josh.
How's it going, guys? So I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit more about how we're actually going to implement this marketing strategy into these companies and kind of get into exactly how much things cost in terms of implementing these things. So obviously, when we talk about sending emails, getting these lists and having lists, it's going to be quite a few thousand people that you're sending these to. So it's not going to be exactly cheap. So this was the best deal that we were able to find through looking through various number of email providers. So this company is called Sendinblue. This is a third-party source. They what we were looking at doing is the premium package. You can kind of see on the right all the things that are offered in the premium package. So it's going to be email campaigns, mobile-friendly templates for them. They have plenty of templates that you can use yourself. One of the big things that they provide on here is Facebook marketing, which is included on this. So I think that's another great avenue that's just a positive of going with Sendinblue. It's just another outlet to reach out to these companies and other higher ups in these companies. So we were looking at having about 10,000 email clients in our own database. So how Sendinblue works is based off of how many emails you send a month. So we were saying about 1 email a week to these companies just to keep our name fresh in their door, maybe possibly on every Friday or maybe every Monday, just to start the work week off with our name in their head. But so that would come out to 40,000 emails a month, and that would be $79 a month. Now, obviously, that is not a super incredibly high like dollar amount, considering the amount of dollars it's going to take just to build a unit. But we'll get into those prices later. So that is Sendinblue and the prices behind those. The next one we're going to talk about is LinkedIn ads. So there's 3 different types of LinkedIn ads that you can run. I like LinkedIn a lot because you can sort people based on what company they work for and what industry they work for. That way we can get really specific on who exactly we're sending these ads to and who exactly they are going out for. So they have a cost per click system. So that's going to be these rolling ads that pop up on your LinkedIn timeline. You'll see them pop up. That has a little thing that says sponsored at the bottom. It's based off how many clicks that you get on that. So it's going to be $5.26 per click. Now, it depends on how good you are at making a clickable ad for how much value you get out of that. Cost per minute, so that's going to be any videos that you watch on LinkedIn, kind of in that space. There'll be pre-roll ads or post-roll ads, so that's going to be before or after the videos. Those are going to be $6.59 per minute. We would also have to hire a video production team in order to pull this off, because we want to bring the best quality possible that's going to keep the most attention for the longest amount of time for if we were going to do this. And the third option, which we feel is the best option for this, is cost per send. So LinkedIn has a mail system. It's like their direct messaging system inside of their application. It costs 80 cents per DM that you send. I find that as a pretty good deal, considering that you get a notification on your phone every single time you get a DM or message from LinkedIn if you have your notifications turned on for the app. So I feel like that's the highest value that's going to bring us for this LinkedIn style marketing, is to go with this cost per send method. With it only being 80 cents per click, you can kind of do the math here. It's around $9,000 if we send it out to 10,000 people, the same if we have the same list as our email list. Moving on to kind of the trade show aspect of how we're going to have a roadshow to demonstrate this unit to different companies all around the nation, normally around this kind of end of spring through summer, beginning of fall. There's quite a few shows for electricity and construction. Some of them are microgrid specific, some of them aren't. But we would like to create a demo unit to send it around the nation, just to kind of prove to potential clients that this unit does actually work how we say it does. It's the good old seeing is believing saying type thing, where you're building a personal relationship and creating a moment in these trade shows that people are probably going to remember. So as we kind of go on to our economic analysis of how much the materials are actually going to physically cost to build a unit, we have kind of contacted multiple different companies, and this is all the lowest bid that we could possibly get for the specs that we have to have that the engineering team has sent us. So for the shipping container, it's going to cost $3,000. The roll cage, which is all the metal tubing, just so that's clear, that's going to cost $296. The EMS, that's going to be the control center to actually monitor how the batteries are doing, how hot or cold they are, how efficient they're being. And it's also going to allow you to monitor the output of electricity, exactly how much you're sending out. You don't want to run out of electricity, so you can kind of monitor that and kind of gate it how needed. That's going to be one of the most expensive things in this build. That's going to be $45,000. The HVAC, which is self-explanatory, is the HVAC. It's $1,500. Fire safety, $270 is just going to be insulation and spray to prevent fires from happening, if anything, and that's going to be $50,000 for in total there. Next thing is going to be everything on the inside of the unit. So that was kind of all the outside stuff. The batteries, there's 3 different models that we could possibly get. The engineering team has told us it's going to be 100 kilowatt hour, 250 kilowatt hour, and 500 kilowatt hours. Those all respectively are about $72,000, $167,000, and $350,000 each. Those are also very pricey and up there. The wiring itself, so obviously wiring the containers together and feeding electricity in and out, that's going to be $400. The tubing to protect that's going to be $318. Plywood sheeting, that's also for the insulation part, that's going to be $1,000. The user interface is $744, so that goes back to the control stuff from earlier. So in total, we all for the 3 different models, we get about $75,000, $170,000, and $360,000 for the internal components. So on these outside costs that could possibly be needed, so short storage and equipment. So y'all, from talking to Mr. Boyd, he's let us know that they do have property out there outside to store these containers if need be. The good thing about that is that these containers are watertight and fire safe, so we don't necessarily have to worry about outside weather affecting these in extraneous conditions. So shipping internationally, this is obviously going to vary. This is very minimal pricing. This is very much going to change bid to bid and company to company. So this could go up quite a bit, but you're looking at $2,000 to $3,000. This doesn't really affect exactly how or if we should implement this, especially since this is going to be put on the consumer themselves. So it won't be really too much of a hassle on our end besides the paperwork side of things. And then the extra salary positions. So this is going to be $50,000 to $125,000 per person that we are hiring. So that's going to be probably a 3-person sales team that is going on the road, and then another 3-person, or you can kind of take 2 of those as well and make them do the demo runs as well. And then anything managerial side of things. So we're probably going to have a marketing manager as well as a sales manager to manage those sales teams going out. So the total cost of the systems that we're estimating, so this is basically minimal cost, bottom dollar side of things, is going to be $123,000, $218,000, and $408,000. Next up, I'm going to send it over to Cord to kind of go over our risk and how we're going to mitigate them.
So let's talk about all the risk and mitigation we're going to, potential risk, the mitigation steps that go into it, and then the implementation plan to what we put in to help fix these risks. Risk one, just having competition with the fuel-based systems. Right now, the fuel prices are relatively going up, so it's not a problem right now, but in the future, if something happens, the price could go down, and it would make our product very feasible for someone who already has a generator to go to our product, especially when the fuel prices go down. Even though we have a smaller system, it's easy to transport, and there's not much technical problems in the system. The companies, it'll be hard for them to change over if the fuel prices go down to, say, $1 or something. Mitigation steps to go into this help us fix this problem. The market systems so that it shows that low operation costs. It can be run day and night without having to be refueled at any time, so the system's running 24/7. It's self-sustaining, it's clean and efficient, which is a big deal in today's world. Everybody wants a clean system. No one wants the emissions going into the atmosphere and hurt the planet. So going on to our risk number 2, having just a bad showing at a demo. We talked about going to these trade shows, really trying to market our product in that. And if we have a system failure or a bad showing at one of these big trade shows, for example, you could get put out into a magazine or on the web that our product had a bad showing and it's really not even worth the money. This is going to ruin our name and our reputation. But there's steps to go into that to help that show. Check the system the day before the show, run it. Just check it all out. Make sure the power output's there. Have technicians at the show in case of an issue so they can jump right on it and show. That can also almost be a benefit to us. Show us how easy it is to fix the issue and to keep it going. On to risk 3, the rising cost of materials. You can see on today's world, even like the price of lumber stuff has gone up like 120% over the last 6 months. This will make our prices go up to make this system. And the customers, if our prices go up where it's not reasonable to them to buy, they will probably stay at their fuel-based systems and keep going like they are. The mitigation step to help fix this: buy directly from the distributors, buy in bulk. If we see a price when it's down one day or something like that, buy it up in bulk. If we think it's going to keep going up, grow the relationship with the distributors. That way we're on a first name basis, or even if they go down, let us know that so we can buy our product and have it stored up in case prices do decide to keep going up or skyrocket over the next couple of months. Now, implementation plan. There's really 4 steps: manufacturing the system, training the customers and technicians, the transition of getting it to the customers, and also feedback from the client. Manufacturer have all the materials on site. We actually have all this stuff put together. As soon as we get to the site, it's already hooked up. This won't really take very long, a day, maybe 2 days at the most, assuming no setbacks in the materials or anything like that, or transportation. Training the customers and technicians. Even though we don't have any responsibilities, once the customer gets it, we want to make sure they understand how to properly run the system, so the system is actually running to 100%, and we don't want them to ruin the system and then come back on us and really blame it on us, say the system wasn't run right or something like that. It's 4 days on training on a new system. That's what we predicted for a professional electrician. And transition, have transport vehicles available, have crews ready to go, secure all the materials in the container, make sure it's all strapped down, because it's actually a cage that's rolled into the container. This is honestly going to take probably a day or two, assuming no setbacks in materials or crews not being ready. Feedback from the client. This is a final and most important step in the process. Really want to do this and take this to our advantage, especially when we're first getting started, what they like and dislike, what we can do to make it better, to help on future jobs and customer relationships. The more interactive we are with the customer, the better we feel like we can help them and help our system grow and really just get our name out there. We want our customer to keep coming back, so whatever makes them happy will help us and help our company. About 5 days total for proper feedback for once they get it running and have it running for a couple of days. And here we have a project diagram. You see our start. For the whole thing, it's going to take about 9 days from site prep, getting a pad level, make sure it's a good spot for the system, the delivery of the system, training, installing the solar panels on top of the unit, hooking all the electrical system up to the solar panels and the batteries, and then transition, and then getting the feedback a couple of days later from the customer. And we are open to questions now.
Boss, why don't you go first, and then we'll have the instructors come in.
Well, this was a very well put together presentation, very easy to follow, and I think you covered all of the main points that I was most concerned with. A couple of little minor things, but nothing worth mentioning. The overall, very good presentation. I liked it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry.
Okay. Well, let me. I guess I'll go first here. We've also got Mr. Stark on the line here, faculty advisor. Greg, you want to make any comments or questions about have any questions of the team?
Yeah. Based on what we had talked about the last few weeks, I was pleasantly surprised. You did a really good job with some of the things we talked about in terms of incorporating, I think, and expanding on some of those marketing ideas. I did notice one thing. You're used to me fussing at you about things. Go back to your decision matrix slide. Whoever has control of the slides. You notice how they don't want to get back there so I can fuss at them.
We're there. I don't know
Okay,
if-
there you go. So in the previous slides, when you were talking about your market segments, I saw oil field construction and a different one. What do you list here for the third
Military.
one? And what was your previous slides all based on for your category?
Government.
What did you make your pitch on in terms of government? Why did government need it? FEMA, emergencies, and then all of a sudden you threw military in there on me.
Yeah.
And so I just wanted to mention that as a learning experience here in terms of keeping your message consistent and not confusing your audience there. So that was one of those things that learned from that because I knew what you were talking about in general, but people that hadn't been so familiar with it might not understand because you mix terms there in markets. Military is part of government, right? And it makes sense because you can see where they need it. You probably alluded to that maybe before I got on, but that was one of those things that really being a theme, you want to be consistent.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
What did we talk about in the last few meetings and that you didn't use or you decided wasn't worthwhile?
So we kind of talked about like profit margin and ROI and stuff a little bit too, and so we kind of talked a little bit and kind of determined that, especially with the inflation and material cost being basically consistently just going upward exponentially, we kind of figured it would be best for, especially in like this market, to kind of take it order by order basis. So kind of get an order, start the manufacturing process, and then start distributing it that way. That way, there's really not a whole lot of risk involved. You kind of have a guaranteed order set up, and there's not exactly necessarily an investment. It's more of a marketing thing.
Okay. Russell, that's all I have.
Okay, that's a good catch. I missed that myself. Okay. All right, let's see. Your presentation, shoot, I didn't catch the end time of it, but Cord went for about 7 minutes. So
28 minutes.
28 minutes. Okay, thank you. Good job. Yeah, very detailed presentation, very equally distributed among the four of you. So you obviously, were well prepared and well organized. Your presentation is well formatted. Presentation length was good and the transition was good. In terms of your effective communication, Matthew, I think you're still kind of, maybe it sounds kind of like you're reading. I know you're not reading, but you have kind of a monotone voice across there. So you need to kind of get out of the, I got to get through this mentality and into the more presentation mode. And Cord, you're a little bit like that too. Colin and Josh, I thought your presentation style was really good, and you're all doing great, but I'm just making a few comments. Let's talk about the material. So Colin began mentioning the demonstration team, and I began thinking, so what are they going to do? You guys got into a lot more detail here than I've seen in any of your previous presentations, and I commend you. You took our comments and you did something with them. So for this, for your marketing, your email, you've got a way to market. This is a way that Mr. Boyd can take this and consider using this to do his email marketing, perhaps. So this at least gives him something. I like this instead of just saying, well, we could send out emails. You've actually given him a system here that he could consider using. So that's one. And ideally, y'all have gone through a lot, and you're recommending this one to him because of the research you've done. Is that what you're telling me here?
Yes, sir. This is from our research that we've done. This is the best value based on the price of the product. So there's a couple more companies where you can do a little bit more, but it's significantly more expensive.
Okay. Tell me more about the demonstration. You go to the slide where you have a demonstration, a demo, trade show, a demo unit with crew. I think there's more on this later on. y'all had some more about what the, yeah, so here's some of the aspects of it. Yeah, actually, you talked about it in the risk. Here's my question. What does this demonstration unit look like? What are the components of this? I mean, how many people? What specifically are they taking? What capabilities are they going to demonstrate, and how?
Well, it's a fully working system. We're not going to leave anything out. So we want to show the client or the potential customer what all comes in that system. So we're going to, I guess, build everything to scale, or we could do a smaller scale of it. And then we're going to show, I guess, hook up some sort of power output to show that it works. But we're going to have fully charged batteries. You can't bring solar panels in there and charge them off of that. So we could just have that part out or just set up just to show that that's how it's collected, it's stored, and then it's distributed.
Okay, so because of the size of the equipment here, I mean, we're talking about a big shipping container.
Yes,
This is
sir.
going to be an outdoor only demonstration. There's not going to be any indoor demonstrations. Is that right?
Yeah, and they do have those kind of trade shows for like very large vehicles, or the Houston Boat Show. They have boats outside all the time. So
Right. Yeah. There's a lot of them that do that. Okay.
yes, sir.
Okay. So you're going to have, I mean, so you're going to have the storage container with all the batteries in it, and it's going to be a 100 kilowatt or a 500 kilowatt unit. Probably take the smaller one, I would
Yes, sir.
imagine. What is it going to power? In other words, you've got the system there. What's it going to run? Here's why I'm asking this, because we were developing a system over here using alternative energy, and we needed to get it to run something, to power something. So we had a generator running, but we still needed to use the electricity to do something, turn on a light bulb or run an electric drill. What are you going to have that thing do? Or is it just going to sit there and hum?
That's a good question. I mean, I haven't thought about that.
Okay, that's a fair answer. That's a fair answer. Maybe you don't need to. Maybe you can just advertise this is a 100 kilowatt system, and these are the types of things that it could power. And but you know, for people who want to look at the system, it's just going to be a kind of a show and tell. Okay, that's a good answer.
Yes, sir.
But I like the way you developed this a lot more. It was a lot more developed in the previous iterations of this. All right, and Cordell, I got a question for you. Go to your implementation plan. Okay, so yeah, we've concluded we can implement this plan with 4 simple steps. Manufacture. What are you manufacturing? Is this simply Mr. Boyd doing the manufacturing of his own product?
No, sir. There's actually a cage, like a roll cage that you put into the container, and then like all the plywood and the insulation that goes into it too.
Okay, go to the next slide where you talk about manufacture, because I didn't understand that. So all materials on site, installation crew. So what are you actually manufacturing here?
You're manufacturing like I guess the way it sounds, you're sounding like we're building the stuff on the site. We're actually building at where the company is located, and then putting it into the container.
Okay, and then they'll take it somewhere to demonstrate it. What's the second step? Training. Okay. All right. Yeah, I'm still not sure. I'm a little fuzzy on this implementation plan. So manufacture the system, which is a system that he's already building, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And then training. And then what's the next step? Transition. So that's moving it to the demonstration site. Is that what you're doing? This is
moving it to the demonstration site or wherever the company that has bought the thing or bought the system is going to.
Okay. And what's the next step? Feedback. Well, it seems like you're missing a step where you actually conduct the demonstration. So after you transition, you set it up, and then there's actually got to be the demonstration, whatever time that is. But I get the idea now. Okay. Yeah, I feel like that could have been communicated a little better. Do you have a Gantt chart here? Okay, project diagram. Got it. All right, that's a lot better looking one than I've seen in the past. So that's well
Thank you.
done. All right. The only other little nitnoid thing is go to your risks and mitigation. Okay, just anyone is fine. Right there. Okay. And I started writing this down as Matthew was presenting his bullets as well. Sentences have periods at the end. Bullets do not. Okay. So it's just a little grammar thing. So none of these are sentences. So they should not have periods at the end. And lastly, your references were just a list of websites, you know, the links and stuff. Yeah, don't do that. Tell us what the references are, but don't put the links in there. All right, Dr. Castell, over to you.
Yeah, I concur with everything you said. I was gonna comment about the references. That's not the right way, even though I like that you have a references slide. No, not many teams have done that, so that was good. Overall, what I really enjoyed, I learned something new about in your marketing plan about this system to send emails in mass. So I really didn't know anything about that, and I learned something from you. So that's great. So I was very excited to see that. I found some of the slides look the same all the time, so I was very distracted by that because you obviously you know what you did and you try very well, but I look away because they all look the same, you know, a bunch of bullets in black and white. So I needed a little more detail, especially on the same question, what is inside that container, right? I had a question, what exactly does that demo unit will look like on the inside? I just see that container and you have a photo, right, with the batteries together. And just, yeah, but everything looks from the outside. So I think description of some schema, yeah. So you have that in there, which helps me, but I didn't know exactly, is that what the demo is going to look like? So I start having a lot of questions about what are you going to show on this in this trade show. Otherwise, I see that you have really expanded from your initial idea. You were able to focus on something that's tangible, that you can actually tell the client, this is something that can work for you. And again, I really enjoy that the marketing plan because I don't know anything about it. So it was nice to learn something new. So good job.
Okay, thank you. All right, let's. Any other comments or questions? All right, let me ask one more here. How about Matthew? Matthew, let me ask you, what was the most challenging part of this project?
The most challenging part of the project, I would say, is getting the prices on some of these materials. Some of the companies, they don't like to release their prices if you're not that serious about buying the products, or if you don't have a company, they're kind of tight-knit with their pricing.
Okay, yeah, prices are a moving target, particularly these days, and these are some pretty difficult components. Yeah, here's a question I have. I wrote down. I didn't ask. On your economic analysis, you started listing some costs, and there's one slide I call your base costs. I mean, the shipping container, yeah, this one, roll cage, all that stuff. This looks like the base. This is the stuff that holds the batteries. Go to your next slide. And then you've got the batteries, and you list $72,000 for a 100 megawatt or kilowatt system. How many batteries is that, and what is the unit cost per battery? How'd you get to 72,240?
I would have to go back into our Excel sheet and see exactly what the number is for that. But I know the engineering team sent it to us. Can't exactly.
I'm
Okay.
looking at it right now. Hold on.
But also, I'll say to your point, that is, I think I did say that it was like the outside part of the shipping container, and then all this, the second side was like the inside, like the meat and potatoes on the inside of it.
Yeah,
well.
and this is going to be scalable based on your electrical capacity.
Correct.
So
All right.
I found the amount of batteries per module. If you want to.
Yeah, tell me.
So for the 100 kilowatt, there's 24. The 250, there's 60, and then the 500, there's 128.
All right. And the unit cost is how much? How much per battery?
Where was that? I mean, you can basically just divide it. Let's see.
Yeah. That's not on this paper. I thought it was.
So are these batteries that Mr. Boyd's already using?
I actually don't know.
Also, are you making? Are you assembling these units already, or is this still in the works?
This is still in the works, but if you will notice in the photographs, and this is what I tell everybody when they come up with this same question, how do we know you can make these? Well, for us, we've done off-grid systems, and we've got the pictures to prove it. It's just a box, and it doesn't matter what the box looks like. It's still the same materials on the inside and the solar panels. The Simplify batteries is an upgrade that we have. We've been affiliated with them now for about 6 months, and we're planning on implementing the Simplify batteries instead of the gels, the VREs. So that's a long way around saying no, we don't use them yet, but we know how to use them, and we've got our processes in place to start buying them.
Okay. All right. Well, I was just curious about that, and that's kind of part of the economic analysis is showing us how you got these numbers. Okay.
Can I add to that a little bit, Russ?
Sure.
I'll be quick. One of the selling constraints or difficulties you have is convincing a customer that it is more economical to pay more up front for the lithium ion batteries. And most of the time they will buy the deep cycle lead acid or lead gel batteries because they appear to be lower cost. But when you look at the actual length of operation and how you can use them, they're actually cheaper if you use lithium ion batteries. That's a cost analysis that would be a good selling tool.